Hello, welcome to this talk on delivering cloudy outcomes everywhere. My name is Dan Hodek. I'm head of product marketing at Rackspace Technology, and I'll be your host for this session. Today, we're going to expose some of the challenges and key drivers changing the way organizations look to leverage the cloud, particularly VMware-based solutions. We'll look at why organizations who are invested in VMware no longer really need to abandon their investment to get the cloudy outcomes many thought was only possible from the hyperscalers. I have a pleasure to be joined here by Brian Litford, Vice President of Private Cloud for Rackspace Technology, and Guy Bartram, Director of Product Marketing for Cloud Service Providers at VMware. Gentlemen, I'd like to introduce yourself and thank you for joining us today. Brian, why don't you give yourself a little introduction there?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. So I'm Brian Litford. I'm responsible for our private cloud products here at Rackspace Technology. Excited to join in the conversation, talk about how cloud outcomes can be accomplished across a multitude of platforms, whether it's in a hyperscaler or in a VMware-based private cloud. So excited to talk more.
Yeah, welcome. Guy?
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me here today. So Guy Bartram from VMware. I work in our Cloud Solutions business unit. I've been with VMware about 7 years, and my responsibility is really around our core cloud provider product platform, which is Cloud Director. I manage a small team. We manage all the marketing for our entire portfolio of solutions for cloud providers, which is some 90 odd products. But yeah, typically we focus on the core platform and all of the extensibility and services that it provides. So super excited to be here today and talk with you guys about what Rackspace has been doing in this area, and also talk about some of the challenges that we see customers facing.
Yeah, fantastic. The value of moving to the cloud is really about the outcomes that the organizations get, right? So when we talk about cloudy outcomes, most people think it's hyperscaler clouds because hyperscaler clouds could deliver like consumption-based pricing, automation, self-service, rapid provisioning. But from what I understand is Rackspace Technology and VMware are really changing the way organizations need to think about cloud and how they achieve those outcomes. So why don't we start there? And Brian, Guy, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what Rackspace is doing and VMware to really change that conversation and what you're doing to move forward.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in first here. So at Rackspace, we really think that the cloud journey is ultimately going to be one that is across multiple types of clouds. Again, whether it's a hyperscaler or it's in a data center that's even owned and operated by our customers or on-prem with Rackspace. We think there is a use case to run the right applications in the right cloud, and customers are really figuring out how to embrace that multi-cloud journey. Rackspace is continuing to innovate and partnering with VMware on our Rackspace services for VMware Cloud, which is a new offering that we have, giving customers some of the flexibility that they would see from a hyperscaler, but also engineering it for high performance and really focusing on the benefits of a private cloud, whether that's maintaining and managing some heritage applications to embracing some of the newest development workloads and containerization, for example. So we're really excited to be bringing this to market. It's built on a number of technologies and developed in strong partnership with folks like VMware.
Yeah, I mean, just to second that, Dan. I mean, when you're talking about outcomes, it's also kind of aligned with expectations, right? And when people talk a lot about cloud, they think about hyperscalers. It's kind of built into our mentalities now that we all just think hyperscale cloud. And a hyperscale cloud has its place. It's very good at what it does, but it's not a it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of world. And cloud, as Brian said, right, it's a journey. So setting the expectations of what customers are looking for their outcomes is really important. And I think what Rackspace has done is really innovative in if you look at the kind of the hardware layer, the base layer that you're building your cloud solution on, you've used VxRail, which means you've used a hyper-converged appliance, which makes it really simple for you to scale out very quickly and sustainably that hardware infrastructure base. And then using the kind of VMware Cloud Foundation stack on that VxRail has brought in the enterprise grade kind of software that customers are used to and kind of expect, right, from a Rackspace and a provider. And the innovation, I think, that's happened and really how it links with outcomes is when I think cloud, I want easy consumption. I want point and click, instant kind of gratification as everyone wants these days. I want automation. I want rapid provisioning. And what you guys have done by taking VxRail footprint, Cloud Foundation, and putting then Cloud Director on top is you've given the customers that self-service experience, that kind of point and click and instantly get the services they want on top of an enterprise grade software and an enterprise grade hardware platform, allowing you then to do really great things in terms of being able to easily expand and much better than hyperscale, right? Hyperscale, you have to go and buy a t-shirt. I want X size of this. And if you want it for a long time or if you want it cheaper, you've got to sign up to a commit. Whereas with what you've got with Cloud Director and the consumption models that Cloud Director offers, you can scale in and out a resource pool instantly. And when you can roll out the hardware underneath to support the virtualized resources that are going to be consumed on top, it makes it an extremely fast to provision, extremely agile platform to meet, as Brian was saying, right, the heritage workloads that customers have these days. And also then with Rackspace's other services interconnecting into hyperscale clouds and all the app modernization plays you have, I think it's a perfect scenario. It really is a great solution.
Yeah.
You touch on something I think really important there, and I think it's critical to how we grow and offer Rackspace services for VMware Cloud globally. That hardware layer mirrored with that Cloud Foundations enterprise package gives us the ability to not only scale in a region, but replicating those same environments in other data centers across the globe, lets us manage and maintain the infrastructure efficiently, and gives customers, when they're using the platform, a very consistent experience, whether they're in a Northern Virginia data center or they're across the pond in London. So we're really excited to see how that grows and develops, and it helps ease the pain of lifecycle management, not just for Rackspace, but also for our customers, right? So it's a very smooth and consistent experience.
I think you mentioned a great point, Brian. And we're talking about cloud and we're talking a little bit about the hardware underneath. I know it's kind of unusual, but it's really important that, customers make the right choice. And it's really important that service providers make the right choice in their hardware platform as well. Because if you've got a hardware platform that has, the Dell platform that has a real close alignment with the VMware Cloud Foundation stack, it's all delivered as one. You got the software lifecycle manager, which takes care of all of the patching and upgrading. That means you guys have a sustainable and, most importantly, predictable platform to deliver your services on. So operationally, it becomes a lot easier for you to scale in and out. That has cost benefits operationally that you're going to be able to pass on to your consumers. And it has predictability in terms of service, which means you can provide decent SLAs around performance.
Exactly right. And we want to take the time we're saving from just the foundational operational side of things and really push that towards how we help customers make the right decisions with their heritage applications or efforts in app modernization, helping them get the most out of their infrastructure, whether it's on our implementation of VMware or if it's in a hyperscaler, and we're showing that to customers with a single pane of glass.
Yeah.
So, back over to you, Dan.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, with what Dell has done with VxRail and VMware has done kind of with VMware Cloud Foundation and such, I think it's one of those reasons that we keep saying, like stop talking about public versus private, right? Because that just is a confusing piece, and that really isn't what you should be focused on. you need to be focused on how do you solve your challenges as a business and those outcomes. And outcomes are typically like end results of solving that challenge. So when we look at the challenges that organizations are facing today, what are you seeing, with really kind of some of the key pieces or key challenges they're driving to, and how does our new solutions solve for that?
So I think I'll address this one first. So when I look at customers and the evolution of really the last 10, 15 years of the way the cloud has been growing and becoming this this de facto standard for your compute environment, it depends how the customers have gone down the cloud journey. Some have gone all in and then really kind of realized that is a very difficult thing to do. Migrating apps takes an awfully long time if you're going to just do one-for-one migration. You've got different hypervisors, different networking, different security, different architectures. There's a learning curve there. You've got to get people skilled up. And if they've tried to do that while running their operations, which are managing their infrastructure already, and running their business at the same time, it's usually too much. So they're kind of like dragging this lead weight behind them as they're trying to innovate, and those things just do not work well together. So, a lot of customers have made, the shift to essentially moving data sets and applications that can easily fit into a SaaS platform. So, closing down your on-prem CRM and moving to a Microsoft Dynamics or whatever it might be, and just doing a data migration. And that's been kind of really the low-hanging fruit in terms of cloud migration. Obviously, we've had people spinning up workloads to a penny for a long time, and sometimes that got a little bit out of control cost-wise. And that's kind of the convenience of cloud also brings, the threat of over provisioning and overworking your cost model. But yeah, I mean, where most customers are now is a fair amount of their work is in public cloud, in hyperscale cloud. But they've also got core workloads on-premise today, which are perhaps never going to go to a hyperscale cloud because of the complexities of the workloads, because one size doesn't fit all. And these we call sort of heritage workloads, right? They're still a main requirement for the business to run. They're very complicated. They're mission critical. They can't be easily moved without some serious downtime and perhaps making a dent in the business running itself. So it's really critical to look after those workloads. And also all of the time you've got this, your business moving forward and trying to innovate, and you've got competitors born in cloud, utilizing third generation ICT platforms with ML and AI and developing innovative applications that are potentially, a threat to your business. So you've got to move forward, but you've also got to look after what's really important to you. How do you do both of them? And that's, the question that, a challenge that we're seeing with a lot of customers these days.
I think that challenge brings with it, most importantly, that customers are naturally going to become multi-cloud, focused, in the coming years if they're not there already, recognizing that their dev team might be working in AWS directly, but their core infrastructure applications are still maybe running in a data center that they're managing and maintaining. And as we talk to customers and they want to get out of their data centers, but they're not quite ready, or the cost controls aren't quite there in their organization to get to a hyperscaler. I do think we have some unique opportunities for customers to bring over those workloads, those heritage workloads, run them on a platform that's well understood, well managed and familiar to their IT staffs, and also giving them side by side some of those tools to do some of that app modernization. So as things get refactored, or as applications grow and develop, you have options to continue to stay in a platform or move to hyperscalers in various forms that we offer there. One of the big things you talked about, Guy, was control. right? And I think that comes in a few different flavors, right? Controls over costs, controls over who's accessing what, and then that leads into security and data and everything that all the implications that come along with that, and making sure that you have a rock solid security posture, especially when you're embracing that multi-cloud view of your IT landscape today, right? Where your security policies have to be extensible, not just in an on-prem environment, but also to hyperscalers, wherever they might be.
Yeah, you mentioned some really, really important things there, and I hadn't kind of thought, well, I hadn't mentioned them earlier. I mean, the security aspect of, let's face it, running your stuff on someone else's hardware, that's what we're talking about with cloud, is massive, because your business doesn't stand still, right? And, we've all seen the attacks of malware. So workloads that are not protected, and when people expect workloads to be, deployed instantly, like in a hyperscale, and they're going to their IT department and virtually forcing them to provision them that fast, mistakes get made. And, a lot of the security issues that we see in the market are actually through human error, right? Firewall policy hasn't been updated, or they moved the workload to a different subnet, and the firewall policy on that subnet was different. So having, solutions like NSX within Cloud Foundation, and having with Cloud Director the ability to control dynamic firewall policies for micro-segmented workloads. This means the firewall basically is wrapped around the workload on the hypervisor. It's wherever that workload moves within the data center, it will still maintain that same secure posture. And it allows, businesses to spin up more workloads and use things like, tagging or subnets or whatever it might be, naming conventions, to ensure the right policies are deployed against that workload. And that control, as you look at, the expectations and outcomes of cloud, is you are going to be consuming more resources because it's a lot more convenient to do so. You are going to then be exposing and increasing your security exposure, and you need to be mindful of that and choose a provider that's got the tools and the solutions that are going to monitor, manage, identify, and isolate if there are any kind of malware threats coming on into your environment. And one other thing I just want to kind of talk about, which is as you look at cloud and you look at these different clouds that are out there, a VMware cloud is something that your workloads have been running on already. It's something that you've known for the last 10 or 20 years. And when you look at the skills and resources to kind of manage that VMware cloud, it's actually getting harder to find VMware resources now, because we've also heard of the Great Resignation. It is a real thing. It does exist. And lots of the skills and resources that we see are actually in our cloud providers, right? You guys have been whipping up all the resources, and that's great, because you are able to excel on the service that you provide. And the reality is that customers have challenges managing their existing heritage workloads. They also have challenges understanding hyperscale clouds. And Brian, you hit the nail on the head when you said, it's the most applicable workload location is the important factor. You're going to go to the cloud that gives you the right tools for the job. And you're going to need to ensure you've got the skills for that target endpoint. Otherwise, you're just going to increase your security exposure, increase your cost. You're going to end up in problems. And that's where Rackspace services for VMware Cloud, I think, really provides a lot of value to customers looking to solve some of those challenges.
That's brilliant.
So, Brian, if you could elaborate that on a little bit more of, like, you guys make this sound so easy, like you do this and this, we've got all these tools. Like it's still, people are having a challenge at getting to the cloud. And then once they're there, right, it's like, how do they optimize? How do they utilize that? What is Rackspace doing to kind of help overcome some of that?
Yeah, I think, one of the things we've been hyper focused on here within our product organization, and then obviously, what we're bringing to our customers, is bringing far more flexibility to the platforms that we offer. So with Rackspace Services for VMware Cloud, RSVC for short here, we're giving customers with Cloud Director all the self-service capabilities they could wish for, whether that's quota management to individual teams, or setting up sub-organizations, to configuring vApps with a defined network and application structure underneath of it, so that you have effectively a one-click deploy of your app in any region that you'd like. That self-service, I think, is really important for the customer or the developer or the engineer that is ready to do X, Y, and Z right now. But then we're also pairing RSVC and our other VMware offers, as well as our hyperscaler offers, with the cloud engineering and DevOps expertise that some customers are looking for. So we have a number of options, whether it's through migration services, advisory services, or across all of our hyperscalers and our VMware Cloud, the elastic engineering model, which gives customers access to a dedicated team of architects and engineers that are familiar with your account, really embed with your engineering team and help drive some of the outcomes that you might have, as a customer on your roadmap, whether that's to modernize an application, to optimize a heritage workload that you have and getting it into even from physical servers to virtual machines, so that it's a little bit easier to consume and move around as needed. We have the skills and expertise to partner shoulder to shoulder, on that cloud journey, whether you're right at the beginning and trying to assess what workloads need to go where, or if you have an engineering team that's already down this path and have made some suggestions, but you just want to accelerate that migration path or that roadmap that you have. We've got engineers that can join in and push those workloads forward.
Yeah, I think also just to add to that, migration is perhaps one of the hottest topics when we talk about cloud. Getting there is sometimes a challenge, and it's typically a challenge when you're having to do things like detach disks and do disk conversions to the new hypervisor, look at networking, look at the new security capabilities, set up completely new infrastructure basically to migrate these data disks into. And when you're looking at a VMware cloud, Rackspace has the migration path is a lot simpler. You're moving from a VMware heritage workload on-prem, and you're going to migrate that into the Rackspace solution for VMware Cloud, and that's going to mean, it doesn't have to mean downtime even. It can be a live migration. It means then you're going to end up on an upgraded vSphere platform perhaps. You're going to end up with better tools at your disposal. You're going to end up on a re-platforming, because the hardware is going to be different underneath, and you're going to have more performance and scalability. And then, as Brian said, you're going to have all of that capability that Rackspace provides to help you on that journey, and that's critical for customers. Most customers think they know their environments. You really need the experts in to actually understand your environment in its totality, because it's not just moving the application, it's moving all the speeds and feeds to the application as well, making sure they come across. And there's technologies with NSXT and live migration and egress optimization that can really negate a lot of the risk that was previously kind of understood as migration.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And I think this is where we're excited to be working with VMware, where you're innovating so much in that space, whether it's with vCDA that eases those migration stresses, or it's just really the customization and extensions of Cloud Director that we can offer to customers that makes it easy to consume not just the VMware suite of tools, but additional extensions, whether it's to have options to back up or options to manage and maintain a DR posture for some of their workloads. So thrilled to see what we're building in the coming year. Really focused on that DR and that migration, focus.
Yeah.
Let's touch back on that DR piece and kind of go into that, because we talked about security a little bit, but really didn't go into like what these solutions do to really protect customers, right? And at what layer, and what is, Guy, let's start with you. When we look at VMware just in general, where are those security parameters or those kind of attributes that are helping protect the customer's data?
Yeah, I mean, we have security is ingrained in the whole stack, from right at the bottom to right to the top. As a customer would think about it, you're looking at your workload, and today, whether you've got physical hosts and you're running, OS is on the host, you haven't got any virtualization play, you probably have firewalls and load balancers in front of that. All of those physical attributes can be kind of virtualized into software. And when you virtualize a workload, you can still, if you wish, keep with the kind of edge firewall premise and edge load balancers. All of these edge services are available in Cloud Director, which is the self-service interface for customers into the Rackspace VMware Cloud. And you then have the option, if you wish, to kind of move up the stack into a much better level of protection than just edge firewalling, because really edge firewalling only controls and understands north-south traffic, traffic that's coming in and out of the edge firewall. And when you look at a workload within the network, you can talk east-west. You're only placed going up, north-south. So there's always the threat of someone opening something inside that subnet and being able to then laterally spread. And to be able to stop that, we have something called micro-segmentation, which, as I explained earlier, it's like a firewall wrapper for your workload. And the workload then has individual policies which manage the communication in and out of the actual workload itself. So it doesn't matter where it is, you've got then north-south protection and east-west protection. It's great for things like malware and preventing spread. You've also got, things like encryption. There's vSphere has encryption, and that's exposed in Cloud Director as well. So you can choose to encrypt your VMs. Key management services from Rackspace to ensure the keys for the encryption are held and looked after. And then you have, vMotion encryption. Everything's basically encrypted, whether it's in motion or at rest, and shared vSAN encryption. So there's a lot of kind of protection which is just kind of native in there. And then, as Brian was saying, you've got the capability which Cloud Director presents, which many customers won't know about because it's typically a product that service providers deploy and give customers access to. One of the cool things about Cloud Director is it has this kind of very ecosystem-friendly plugin architecture. So we can plug in any backup vendor. We've got all of the major players in there. We can plug in object storage in there as well. So you've got, things like using immutable storage, for example, with your backups. So data can't be changed. And I think particularly now, customers need to be ultra sensitive about their security posture. We're seeing, cyber threats through the lockdown periods when the pandemic have risen. We've now got geopolitical situations which are driving more cyber threats. It's very important now that a customer looks to a service provider who can provide maximum protection up front for those workloads, but also remediation as well. So understanding how to restore your workloads, restoring those quickly. Brian, you mentioned VCDA, that's Cloud Director Availability, which is the DR and migration capability for Cloud Director. So you can protect your workloads from either your on-prem to Rackspace, or from Rackspace back to on-prem, or between Rackspace data centers as well. So, it's full 360 in terms of everything that we provide from a data protection standpoint.
Yeah, and it expands beyond just the software layer, right? When Rackspace is looking at how we architect and design, certainly our private cloud offerings, we're looking for validated architectures, hardware that we know and trust, like the Dell VxRail platform, the lifecycle management through cloud foundations that gives us that security and peace of mind that everything's up to date, everything is running on the latest and greatest, and we're removing those potential, threat vectors, if you will. That paired with other solutions like our data freedom offer, where customers can centrally and securely locate their storage in their data, rather, in a Rackspace data center, make it accessible as needed to hyperscalers or to on-prem or Rackspace private cloud workloads, but basically wall it off from any other system or cloud as needed, and really keep control of their data and where it lives and how it's audited, how it's watched. So we're really excited. We're exploring more opportunities in this space, and you'll probably hear more from our teams around really Rackspace data protection as a full line of offerings across not just public but private clouds and data appliances and the like. So we're really excited. We definitely see that customers are asking us for help on their security posture, and there's innovative solutions out that I think we can bring to our customers, again, helping them on that multi-cloud journey.
Let's jump to control. That was another point that we touched on, and Brian, you kind of expanded to say, listen, control isn't just control of the app or control the data. It's also talking about like cost controls, right, and optimization, and how do you keep those overruns from happening that people just hear that in the news every day of surprises where some C-levels like his job is in tenure because of like they've overspent and they haven't controlled that type of spend. Is there anything that the clouds are doing to help there, that Rackspace is doing to kind of help both that?
Just give an example just within Rackspace today. We're working with several customers who have their production and DR workloads running in Rackspace data centers on some of our VMware platforms. And as always, cost is top of mind, right? As we're working with those customers, helping them not just control their costs, but also plan for the future, free up funds for more innovation. And we're using Rackspace Services for VMware Cloud, I think, in a unique way here, giving customers the security and stability of running a fully dedicated single tenant VMware private cloud in one of our data centers for their production workloads, right? Mission critical applications, and then actually leveraging RSVC as that DR site. So everything stays in a VMware architecture that, again, customers are familiar with, and we trust and know how to manage, but they're also getting the best of both worlds, in that they're not having to stamp out an exact replica of their production environment and doubling their costs. Instead, they're getting to take advantage of that flexible consumption model that we have with RSVC, where you're only paying for what you use. In the case of DR, unless you're spinning up all of the VMs at once, you're really just paying for your storage usage. And so this is a really cost-effective way to build a DR strategy and giving customers some of that flexibility just within the Rackspace ecosystem alone. Another thing that I really like about Cloud Director is we're giving customers not just the Cloud Director portal and the ability to kind of control and maintain their clouds, but primary admins on the account have the opportunity to create some sub-organizations. They can group applications together. They can, set effectively quotas for some of those workloads to help control and, maintain their cost levels at an appropriate dollar value. So handing the keys and some of that control to our customers, and then working with them on, setting the right policies, I think is a real advantage here for RSVC.
Yeah, I think from a Cloud Director perspective, you hit on a couple of things there, Brian. There's also, control over, IOPS, for example, and IOP policies, placement control, where you want the workloads to be. For me, from a cost perspective, the biggest thing I see is, if you look at what Cloud Director does in terms of creating this resource pool. So take the hardware, take all of the CPU memory, throw it in a resource pool. Can be spanning across 10 hosts, 100 hosts, doesn't matter. The physical resources, when they're virtualized into a resource pool, can then be offered in various models. You can provide, for example, a reservation pool. And basically that means, if you want 100 gigabyte and 14 CPUs, that's what you're going to get. Whether you use it or not, that's what you ask for, that's what you're going to get. And that's 100% reservation. Or you can have an allocation model where you could say, well, I want 100 gig, but I'm only going to need 100 gig 20% of the time. Or I'm only going to need like 20 CPUs 10% of the time. So I want to set a reservation level, and I want to be able to go and spike above that reservation level. And you can do that, Cloud Direct is very flexible in how it does this. You can also have pay-as-you-go models, perfect for DR, like you said, Brian. You only pay for what you use. And you can define flex models. So if you're an organizational admin and you've got different lines of business within your organization, you can set up these resource pools. You can have complete control how you offer the cloud infrastructure to your lines of business. And you then get a lot of granularity around how they are going to be consuming this from a cost perspective as well. So lots of control, not just at the API or the UI level, but actually in that underlying kind of infrastructure cost that gets consumed.
Well, and I think the consistent foundation, I think, Brian, you'd mentioned that, right? Being able to offer that both RSVC, that multi-tenant, and that single dedicated. I think that's you're able to do that, right? Because of this consistent foundation that VMware provides, right? And we're able to keep things easy, and I guess keep what the customer kind of control, right? That environment they're in.
Exactly.
I think just to add to that, Dan, right? And when we talk about, and we mentioned it before, right? The nomenclatures are public and private. What you've got here with your solution today that you can offer to customers is it's a VMware cloud. The segregation can be at the hardware level if you wish, but it also can be at the software level. And at the software layer 2 level and above, we provide complete isolation from other tenants, which really, if you think about it, yeah, sure, pay for the hardware if you really want it. But generally, I would say that most, if not all, organizations would be happy with a private cloud when it's actually layer 2 segregation. Because if you think about it, even with dedicated hardware, you still have a shared resource at some point along the supply chain of getting in and out of that place. So, it really changes the conversation on how customers feel about their cloud. And there's a lot of benefits also with sharing resources, sharing hardware with multiple lines of business or with multiple other tenants. There's a lot of cost optimization that can be gained, that can be passed on to the customer. There's a lot of sustainability that you can achieve from lowering your carbon emissions by sharing resources and more efficiently using hardware. And these are all kind of really good factors with choosing the Rackspace VMware cloud solution.
I guess one of the last challenges, we talked a little bit about the skills gap, some of the resources. Brian, you mentioned elastic engineering. What is that? Like what is that?
Yeah.
You say elastic engineering, and what's so fabulous about that?
Maybe I'll jump in and talk a little bit about elastic engineering and what we're aiming to do there. And Guy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the great resignation and the skills gaps that you see across the landscape here from a VMware perspective. So elastic engineering really is a next generation DevOps model where we are resourcing architects and engineers that have a depth of experience across several VMware technologies and dedicating them to a customer. The goal is to really embed and be shoulder by shoulder and work through backlogs and help define projects and the outcomes that our customers are looking to achieve with their VMware platforms. And the great thing about Elastic Engineering is it's not tied to just one solution that Rackspace provides. We can provide this help, whether it's in a customer's data center on a VMware environment that they're running today, whether it's in Rackspace on one of our private clouds, be that our Rackspace private cloud powered by VMware or RSVC. We can also offer these services on VMC on AWS or GCVE. We're giving customers the flexibility to leverage these highly skilled architects and engineers on any of those various platforms. We're also not focused on just keeping the lights on, right? But helping that customer's roadmap, whether it's some of the app modernization, whether it's adopting microsegmentation for a much more heightened security posture, or if it's looking through and auditing and providing some advisory on what to do with your applications, as they sit today, how could they be better utilized, whether it's on-prem or in a public or private cloud elsewhere. So we're really excited for customers to consume that. We think that it's one of the ways to get the very best out of the VMware suite of tools and solutions, and super excited to have that as an option, not just for RSVC, but for really any VMware platform anywhere. So thrilled to be able to bring that to customers that might be having challenges with the skills gap and resourcing challenges that we've been talking about a little earlier.
From a skills gap perspective, then, I think the way to look at this is that technology moves on. Everyone's portfolios within all companies moves, and the rate of change is astronomical. Even from a VMware perspective, we're bringing out lots of new products. We're changing products. We're growing products. And then you look at hyperscale cloud offerings. I mean, it's like something like 3 million SKUs or something that are available now in the hyperscale. So there's huge challenges with keeping up with technology. Personally, myself, I used to be an IP engineer back at the start of my career, and I felt I couldn't keep up with the rate of change from all the vendors, new standards that were coming out, and I'm much better off in marketing, believe me. My IP engineering days are done. But you do have this challenge of trying to keep up. And if you are a customer who's had VMware for the last 10, 20 years, you'll have seen the rate of change that VMware has. And now it's harder to find the resources you need to manage those heritage estates. Most of those admins have gone off and got certified in hyperscale technologies, and you can find developers very easily. You can find quite a lot of, I would say there's a significant amount of hyperscale skilled engineers out there as well. But you've got to look after your core. You've got to look after what's your business is running on today, which is VMware. And you've got to do that while managing this modernization potentially for workloads. And having a service provider that can back you up in a consumption model for the resources that you need for the projects that you've got ongoing, it's very convenient, right? I mean, that's convenience 101. You're buying this in a consumption mode that really makes it worthwhile doing. You're not signing up to huge long-term contracts and then not utilizing the resources. So I think it's a really high value proposition from Rackspace, who we all know are the experts in cloud, have a fantastic support, have a heritage of fantastic support, and can really help customers achieve their cloud outcomes and their cloud goals of perhaps, shutting down a data center, moving their workloads into the Rackspace VMware cloud, and then looking at doing some app modernization when they've achieved, checkbox 1, let's get into let's shut down our data center. Checkbox 2, let's start addressing some of the competitive issues we have. Checkbox 3, let's engage with some AI, ML, whatever it is for the vertical you're working in. These things may seem like mountains when you're looking at just trying to manage and keep on top of your heritage estates that are keeping your businesses alive. You need a partner to help you do that and help you through that change. And that's where our cloud providers, Rackspace, can significantly help, and this elastic engineering offering is unique as far as I can see in the market, and something that I think is extremely high value.
Yes, and we think so as well. So, coming to the end of our session here today, and I think what we've kind of discovered is you can deliver cloudy outcomes everywhere without a hyperscale, right? Like we've talked about all the aspects here and the challenges, and unfortunately, it comes with a lot of challenges. But with Rackspace services for VMware Cloud, and then the additional VMware services that Rackspace is able to provide, like with Elastic Engineering or our data freedom services that can connect, we're able to kind of help customers go through those challenges and meet them where they are on their journey. So before we leave, I'm gonna throw it back out to Brian here. Let's. Do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to conclude with?
Yeah, no, Dan, I think you covered it well, right? The challenges that I think our customers are facing are well known at this point and well articulated, and I'm excited for how Rackspace is rising to that challenge and continuing to work and innovate with our partners, VMware, Dell, and others, to really design solutions that make sense not just for today and the challenges we have right now, but also start to address the 5-year horizon, the 10-year horizon for customers, as they continue on that multi-cloud journey and beyond. So really excited not only to be in this space, but to be working with our customers and really coming to terms and understanding how we can help out with what their businesses are facing and where they need to go next. So super excited, and thank you again, Dan, for setting this up for us.
Yeah, thank you, Guy. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I echo Brian's sentiment there, and for me, this is a really exciting time. We've got the best software stack that VMware has in Rackspace, running on some of the best hardware globally. This is a solution, and this is a critical point, right? Like Brian said, it's a solution that can take your estates now and do something with them, re-platform them onto a new shiny VMware platform. It's a solution that is forward-looking. It's working with VMware and the partnership we have together. You guys are actively investigating all of the solutions that we have in our portfolio, and we have, I think sometimes customers don't really understand exactly how much we have. We have solutions for data services. We have solutions for Kubernetes. We have solutions for GPU. Many things are available that you would traditionally thought I've got to go to a hyperscaler for. You don't have to do that. The VMware Cloud Platform can deliver the solutions that you need now and in the future, in the immediate future, and will deliver for long-term future. So I'm very excited to see Rackspace developing this solution, and I think it's a fantastic solution. And when it's complemented with things like Elastic Engineering, it really makes it very innovative and very competitive.
Fantastic. This has been a wonderful discussion. I think there's a great conversation we've had. Well, thank you both, Guy and Brian, for the discussion. And I want to thank those who are watching today. And I hope you enjoyed the session and found it useful and informative. To find out more about Rackspace technology and our VMware services, please go to rackspace.com. Thank you.